Hey guys, so as a special tribute to Martin Luther King Day tomorrow, I decided to do a video about some of the facts about Martin Luther King Jr. And I decided to start researching some of it today because I realized I really didn't know nearly as much about him as I thought, especially while I was doing the research. And I figured you guys might be interested in some of this information as well. So here goes. I wrote a lot of it down because there was a lot of it, and yeah. Anyway. So, Martin Luther King Jr. was actually born as Michael King Jr. He was born on January 5th in 1929, and in 1934 his father traveled to Germany, and he was so inspired by the Protestant Reformation leader named Martin Luther that he decided to change his and his son's names to Martin Luther King Jr. and Sr. Martin Luther King Jr. was very intelligent. He was a seriously gifted student. He ended up skipping ninth grade and 12th grade, and he enrolled in Morehouse College in 1944 at 15 years old. It was the same college that his father and his maternal grandfather attended. And although his dad, his grandfather, and his great grandfather were all ordained ministers, he originally had no intention of following suit until the college president, Benjamin Mays, had convinced him to rethink his position on that. He was ordained before graduating with a degree in sociology. He ended up receiving a doctorate in systematic theology, and he earned a divinity degree from Pennsylvania's Crozer Theology Seminary. He also attended graduate school at Boston University, where he received his PhD in 1955. And if you're doing the math here, that is, 26 years old? His dissertation was titled A Comparison of Conceptions of God in the Thinking of Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Wyman. Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Wyman were two people who were very strong religious leaders, and they had a lot of very different beliefs, and he decided to do his dissertation on that. May 17th, 1957 was the first time that he gave a speech at the Lincoln Memorial. In front of 15,000 to 30,000 estimated people gathered there. He was 28 years old at this time. Think about what most people are doing at that age, anyway. He was definitely a great man with balls of steel already at such a young age. One who did not believe that he was a victim, but he believed that he could change his circumstances and the circumstances of the world around him as well. This speech was titled, Give Us the Ballot. The speech drew in strong reviews, and it positioned him at the front of the civil rights leadership. This was 6 years before his speech of I Have a Dream. He went to jail 29 times. He was arrested for civil disobedience and on trumped-up charges regularly, but didn't allow this to stop him. He would not be cowed by those in power seeking to stop him from spreading truth, enlightenment, and awareness. One such time was in Montgomery, Alabama, when he was jailed for driving 30 miles an hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Some of the other ones are perjury, disobeying a policeman's orders, loitering. At one point, he was freed due to a call from Robert F. Kennedy, JFK's brother and campaign manager, just in time to catch a flight and address a mass rally at Ebenezer. He was arrested for a sit-in at a department store as well, and he was sentenced to 4 months prison and forced labor. Perjury charges were leveled at him and later dropped. He was charged and acquitted on falsifying his tax information. 10 years before his assassination, at 39 years old, he had escaped a previous assassination attempt when he was only 29. September 26, in 1958, he was signing books in Harlem, the newest release of Strive Towards Freedom, in a department store where he was approached by Izola Ware Curry. She asked if he was Martin Luther King Jr., and he said yes. She said that she had been looking for him for 5 years and drove a 7-inch letter opener into his chest. It narrowly missed his aorta. He went through hours of emergency surgery that was very delicate. The surgeon told King later that even just one sneeze would have caused a puncture of the aorta, causing his death. He was meant for more, and he was very protected, it seems. From his hospital bed, where he was for weeks, he issued a statement reaffirming his beliefs in nonviolence and that he held no ill will at all towards his mentally ill attacker. Considering it took 5 years to find someone so prominently in the public eye, I would have to agree that with his statement that she was mentally ill. In his last public speech, he foretold his death. Looks like somebody was definitely on the same path as most of us here on this channel. In April 1968, in Memphis, he was there to support the black garbage workers on strike. In a speech that he had given the night before he died, he told a group gathered at Mason Temple Church, "Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I am not concerned about that right now. I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, we will get to that promised land. And I am happy tonight. I am not worried about anything. I am not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming Lord." Honestly, I can relate to this very much. I choose not to worry and to know that what's meant to be will be. All death has a purpose as much as life does. I know that when it's my time, there's a reason for it. And I don't want my death to cause hate, even if my life is taken by a hater, and especially if my life is taken by a hater. I would like to ruin their hateful plans with calls for love and forgiveness, because that's how I choose to live my life, and that is what I want to be remembered for in death. So I can understand where he's coming from there. Not to mention, it's not our mortal soul that matters, it's our immortal one that matters. The family he had did not believe that his killer acted alone. This killer pled guilty and later recanted. His son Dexter took action in 1997 to meet with Ray and asked for the case to be reopened. His widow, Coretta, thought that there was definitely a bigger picture to look at as well, and she believed that the mafia, local, state, and federal governments were all involved in the murder very deeply. In Memphis in 1999, in a civil trial, a jury ruled that this murder was definitely the result of a conspiracy. Coretta praised this ruling, and they also decided that Ray was set up to take the fall. Still, the Department of Justice reported in 2000 that there was no evidence of a conspiracy. Alberta Williams King, his mother, who was playing an organ at Sunday service inside of Ebenezer Baptist Church, was shot dead as well. The shooter was Marcus Wayne Chenault Jr., who rose up from the front pew, drew 2 pistols, and fired shots. 1 bullet struck and killed her, leaving her dead steps from where her son had once preached of nonviolence. He said Christians were his enemy and that he received divine instructions to kill King's father and shot his mother instead because she was closer to him. A church deacon was also killed in this shooting as well. He was at first sentenced to death, but it was appealed by the King family, and it was changed to life in prison because the family opposed capital punishment. Besides Martin Luther King Jr., only two other Americans have had their birthdays marked as a national holiday, or near to their birthdays anyway: George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. President Ronald Reagan was responsible for this. In 1983, he signed a bill that designated his birthday as a federal holiday. The first year it was observed was 1986. It was designated on the 3rd Monday in January, close to his January 15th birthday. Some of his most notable speeches, in case you guys wanted to look some of them up and hear some of what he has to say, and I haven't actually listened to the majority of these either. I've listened to parts of I Have a Dream, who hasn't, but as far as the rest of these goes, I haven't quite listened to any of them yet, but I thought you might be interested in some of the more notable ones he had. So we have Paul's letter to American Christians, written or given on 11/4/56, I Have a Dream on 8/28/63, The Quest for Peace and Justice 12/11/64, Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break the Silence 4/4/67, The Other America 4/14/67, and both of those 2 speeches were on his beliefs in anti-war. The Three Evils of Society 8/3/67, and I've Been to the Mountaintop 4/3/68. I decided to do this video because I really felt like If we're going to celebrate a holiday, we should know at least something about the person that's being celebrated in that holiday. Not to mention, he is one of the biggest reasons that there is a lack of segregation and discrimination amongst colored people in this country. And it's a very important step that this country took forward. And he did some very amazing, important things in his lifetime. And I felt like that was definitely a good thing to do some research on and make a video on. And also, he definitely was somebody who believes in some of the very same things that I do, whether I'm Christian or not. And I hope you guys really enjoyed hearing about this and getting to know some of this knowledge. I know that I definitely enjoyed researching it and getting to know some of the things that I did not know about his life. It was actually pretty interesting to find out some of the things that I found out about his life. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. I hope you have a beautiful night or day, whatever it is, wherever you are when you're watching. Bye-bye, guys.